OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are Rolling Audio here today on episode 364 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. We have a really exciting episode for you here today, and I try to every single week right here on The Hodder Show in what is a little bit of a return to form here on the show, as I haven't had a full official interview since like November, I think, which is obviously not usually the kind of content I have on here, but we've had some great content over the last couple of months, and I want to thank everybody for their support as I was trying to work through trying to deal with the new work schedule and things of that nature. It's been a little tricky, but we have a kick-ass interview for you here today with voice actor and actor Erik Fones. Now, Erik, you may recognize his name because he's one of my patrons, also a buddy of mine, but he's also a super talented voice actor and has been in some pretty cool projects as far as from actual physical acting. So we dive into all that and where his love of acting and voice acting comes from, some of his favorite projects that he's done. We talk a lot about Baseline Feed, which is a podcast that we both love and have both been a part of. We also talk about his work on the horror narration podcast I do for my Patreon, Taped with Trepidation, and where his love of horror comes from, and just some other fun general topics, including our love of Graham Rowett and Mark Taus. So big shouts to both of them. And thank you so much, Erik, for coming on, my man. It was a lot of fun. Speaking of Taped with Trepidation, I just want to give a big thank you to everybody who supported last week's episode of the show, which was me sharing a episode of Taped with Trepidation. That episode was all about a creepypasta I wrote for the podcast. 7 years ago, I started a podcast, but I only recorded 30 episodes. And that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of really, really good, nice feedback. So I can't thank you all enough. I love that project. I love the narration stuff and the creepy stuff. However, I want to rest assured, everybody, that The Hodder Show is not going anywhere. I'm not going to be, I know it's been a bit of a weird last couple of months, but I have no intentions of stopping doing this kind of content. I did have someone reach out to me and ask straight out, are you just going to start doing like odd random content for the rest of the year and then like quit doing interviews? I assure you all that's not what's happening. And I'm very excited to be getting back into doing interviews in the next couple of weeks here. And we're starting off once again with a banger with my man, Erik Fones. And we're going to jump into that in just 1 second as we hear a word from the sponsors who are helping The Hodder Show grow. Let's check it out. All right, guys, I am honored to be joined here today by my buddy, Mr. Erik Fones. Erik, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, nothing much, man. I'm doing well. Today was a good day. So.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. I'm happy we're finally able to do this because, dude, you have some really cool stories to tell us about some stuff, not only from your past, but also talking recently about, you know, you getting into voice acting and things like that. The actor extraordinaire, Erik Fones. I'm hyped, man. I'm so happy to be doing this with you. And yeah, it's going to be a blast, dude. I appreciate your time.
I'm pretty pumped, and I'm absolutely honored you have me on here, man.
Definitely. So, well, just jumping in head first here, we were talking before we started. Some people who are horror and slasher buffs, also just if they were around in 2008 in that scene, may recognize your name because you were, how would you describe your role here?
I was the killer. I mean, I was the guy. My character name was Bobby Shaw Carver. And basically there was this whole backstory that we had on set for him that was just like he was mentally abused, physically abused by the sheriff and his brother, basically. And it was a really, really deep delve into just being a psycho redneck. And it was a lot of fun. Being the bad guy is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I just don't usually go into that headspace. And there were a couple times where I was thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? You know, like it was just one of those things where I would freak out. I would have panic attacks because I had some really dark thoughts during some of the scenes. But Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun.
And
More
of
than
course,
anything.
we're discussing Erik's role in the 2008 movie Carver.
Yes.
And well, real quick, just based off a thing here, based on a true story, Carver depicts the real life events of 5 20-somethings that went camping in the mountain town of Highclaw Ridge and never returned. And now, full disclosure, folks, I have not seen the movie. However, I have seen parts of the movie because as not only a fan of Eric's, but also as his buddy, I was like, oh, I want to make sure I see this. And I got to see like some trailers and some footage like that. And oh, spicy.
Yeah, it gets in there. It gets in there.
Well, and what's cool is like, you were mentioning how you kind of had to go into this headspace. And I'm curious because, both of us have dabbled a little bit in voice acting. And obviously I want to talk about that with you at length because that's kind of your main focus now.
Yes.
But first off, how did you get casted in that role as this like serial killer redneck who, snaps and starts murdering people?
There is a very interesting story about that. I worked for a subprime lender, mortgage stuff. I've been in the real estate business forever. That's my main thing. Is like whatever. But anyway, so I just happened to fall in with this guy that needed help doing a movie that he was filming anyway. I was like, dude, if you need me to hold a boom mic or whatever, I'm there. So that's what he did. He had me come in to the office. We filmed in the office, and that movie was called The Eighth Plague, and that was my first on-screen role. I'm only in it for like 30 seconds, but like I was part of the crew for a little while.
Hey,
anyway,
brother, that's 30 seconds more than most people.
Yeah, that is very true. But yeah, like all I do is stare at the camera for like 15 seconds, and I'm just like being a creep, and it was awesome. But
which
anyways,
is so far. I don't mean to interrupt you, but like,
no, it's
I just have to stress that is so far removed from you as a human being. Like, just you're like the sweetest, nicest guy and everything, and I'm just like,
well, that's kind of what the headspace thing was all about. Like, I'm not a bad guy. I have intrusive thoughts that like, what if I jab this guy in the neck? Sure, but I would never follow through with that anyway. So I just offhandedly said to him one time, I was like, dude, if you ever need a killer for a horror movie, I want to be that guy. And the rest is history. He wrote that role for me. So I had to do an official, you can't see the air quotes that I'm doing, but an official, why is the word
screen test or whatever it is?
Yeah. There you go. An audition. And I had to read lines from this other character and such, but like, obviously they liked me enough. The producer said, bring him on. And yeah, it was just one of those things that I kind of spoke up and advocated for myself, and I got the role.
I always say, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast over the years, if you're just nice to people and you show up and you help out and you're just a constant good presence around people, eventually you're going to get an opportunity just based on that. Any opportunity I've ever had in my life has been because of that.
That's the most important thing. Like, if you're nice to people, people will come back to you. They're going to want to work with you. So, you can be a mediocre actor or whatever, but if you're nice, people are going to want to work with you again.
There was something that a gentleman by the name of Hoogie, who is he's a guitar and keyboard tech for a band called Shinedown. When I had him on the show, I'm a huge fan of his as a former guitar tech. Yeah. And he said something interesting to me. This was years ago now, but just it made me think of it, where he said, a lot of people who are doing creative things for a living, they want to surround themselves with people. Number one, like, you have to be good at what you do.
Yeah.
Like that's a given.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
What they're looking for more than anything is, are you a good hang? Are you a good person?
Yeah.
Like, you don't, like, I personally myself, like, I'm at a point in my life where, like, I'm not going to work with anybody or associate with anybody who isn't like a good person and is a good hang. And like, it's just like, I like this person. Like, we're buddies, but then also hey, you're talented as hell.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's super important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You obviously have to be good at what you did. And actually I went on to, after that, I didn't do anything major after that, but I did have a production company with a few buddies around here. And we put together some movies and just, kind of just messed around with acting and writing. And
Was that Confused? Was that one of them?
yes,
Okay.
that was one of them. And then there was A Night's Work, and I forget the other one. I can't remember the other one, but I played a Russian guy.
Ooh.
It was actually pretty cool.
Quintessential evil.
Yes, comrade. That is nice. But like, what was I saying? Yeah, and this goes back to what we were talking about before with the interviewing thing. Like, I was never really a good interviewer, so like when you came to me, I was just like, okay. But like when they were interviewing me for the extras for Carver, they would ask me a question and my mind would just go blank. I wouldn't know what to say. So it was like, and they cut that out. I am not.
Which almost fits the character though, kind of, right? Yeah. Like, it's like even in the people are watching, like, yo, this guy's actually like that? Like, what? Like, he's like he's a little off kilter.
I'm a method actor. What can I say?
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. But yeah, when I saw you pop up for the first time, like the Erik I'm used to has a big beard and everything, and like when you popped up, I was like, oh my god, like, but it's obviously you clearly, like,
right,
but
right.
yeah, I was like, oh my god,
enough.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but it's like, holy cow, like, what did you have to do to get yourself in that headspace every day?
Stuff I'm really not proud of. Like, I had to let the intrusive thoughts become actual thoughts. Like, and I loved everybody on set, but like when the kill scenes came up, I'm like, I need this guy dead. And they were so nice, and I felt so bad thinking like that. But just to get into that character, to give the performance that extra juice that it needed. I was like, Matt Carmody was one of the guys that I worked with, and his death scene, and I'm, you haven't seen it, so I'm going to spoil this a little bit, but there's a sledgehammer involving, there's a scene involving his face in a sledgehammer.
Okay.
And Paul Goldblatt, who did all the special effects for that, he was amazing. He made this head out of wax, and he was like, you need to get this on the first try. So I had to really psych myself up to be like, okay, Matt, you pissed me off for some reason. I don't know. You talked about my mom. But I want you
something
dead now.
Like that.
Yeah. And it was a lot more it was a lot more gritty than that, but you know what I'm saying. But I took the sledgehammer and I started swinging at that wax head, and it did not break. And I was like, are you kidding me? So it took me quite a while to actually get that head to break. Like, Paul just must have made it out of titanium or something, because it took me quite a few swings, but we got the effect that we wanted. Like, these guys, man, like, they took the special effects to a whole new level with practical effects. But yeah, anyway, when I was in that headspace, I was so angry, and my head was nothing but, I need to kill this guy. I need to pop his head, and he needs to die. And let me tell you this, like, after about 10 swings, like, I finally got it, but I had to leave. I had to go outside. I started crying. I started freaking out, just like having this anxious moment, that I couldn't release while on camera, of course. And luckily I was wearing a mask over part of my face, because I just, like, tears were coming up as I was having these thoughts that this guy was. Of course, in the moment, I wasn't thinking that I feel bad about it. But right after that, once he said cut, I was like, I got to go. And I took it. I stood outside and I started bawling. Like, it was freaking, I smoked about 3 cigarettes, because at the time I smoked. I don't anymore. But yeah, Like I chain smoked like 3 cigarettes. Just it took me a little while to get over that.
Well, I think that speaks to you as a human being too, right? Like I've made no qualms about the fact that I think of you as a buddy and like what a great guy and sweet guy you are. So it's like I'd be the same way. Like I'd be like, I need a minute. Like I need to just let this go because I don't like how I'm feeling right now, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to hold that to anybody in your life,
Yeah, no. And that was the worst of it. That was the worst scene for that. Like, with there's a couple scenes where I had to like stab somebody in the knee and stab somebody in the eye or get stabbed in the eye with a piece of wood. That was nothing. That sledgehammer thing, I don't know. It was fun to swing that sledgehammer though.
Like I said, that'd be a lot of fun though.
Yeah,
like, let's be real.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things where I wasn't on set being a dick to everybody. I got along with everybody, and that it didn't make it hard to switch back and forth though. Like I thought it would, but it didn't.
Well, at the end of the day, like anyone who's in that situation, I would like to think everyone understands that like, hey, we're all creative. We're all working towards the same goal. So, hey, if in a moment I'm a dick to you because I'm totally in character and have to be in that headspace, you would understand, but at the same time, you can't walk around and just be a dick all the time. Well, I'm a method actor. It's like, dude, like, I can't remember who
Daniel
it was.
Day-Lewis.
Yeah, I can't remember who was it who said about method acting. I don't remember. It was this huge older star who was like, oh yeah, people who method act, like they don't have any talent, blah, 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 blah. Like you should be able to turn that off. And I was like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But I get his point. But I definitely don't agree with it.
I think the point was like, well, if you're playing someone like Carver and you're walking around all day in character, like, I mean, that's got to not be pleasant for anybody. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, but then again, I'm a huge, wrestling fan, as you know. So like the 90s kayfabe, all that. So like, I get it and totally respect that.
Right. Yeah. And that actually came up a couple times during filming where he was telling me that I had to react bigger. And I was like, I used to be a big fan of wrestling too. I don't watch it anymore. I think it just, I don't know. It just kind of went off the rails for me.
I know what you mean.
but he was directing me to, basically act bigger. So I'm just like, okay. So there's a scene where I get hit in the back with a lead pipe. And let me tell you, I think it was the fourth or fifth take. Well, first off, the fourth take, dude actually hit me in the head, and I was kind of pissed. But it's good, He was a sweet guy, and I let it go. But no, the fifth take, I was just like, I did that whole thing, and that's what they wanted. So
whatever works.
Yeah.
That's
because
funny.
I've always been told that with the screen, you got to act small. But he wanted me to go big on that. I'm just like, that goes against everything I've been told. But yeah.
But I guess when the director of the movie tells you something, you're kind of like, well,
yeah.
I'm
not one to argue with the director.
Yeah, no. Maybe after you get a few more movies under your belt, there, kid. It's a few more voice acting roles too under your belt, then you can start arguing with people. But I don't feel like my character would do this.
You're like, I had no hand in writing this, but I really don't feel like he would do that.
Yeah, that's always fun. It's like, I don't know if my character would do this. It's like, listen, let's relax, But that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm so glad that I was able to at least do some looking over with Carver because it's such a cool thing. And I mean, I know there's been like while I was trying to find a version of it to watch, like Carver is like this like cult classic, and like all these people like still talk about how I saw a few people that were like, yo, like the guy who played Carver was awesome and blah, 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 blah. Like whatever happened to him. And I was like, that's cool. Right.
I'm
like
still around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I know. I have actually made friends internationally because of this. And, they subscribe to my fan page and all that good stuff on Facebook. And, and they just, you know, they reached out to me personally. I've still got people reaching out to me personally, telling me that I meant, you know, that I did a good job, and they actually tell me that I meant a great deal to them, and that's when I'm just like, okay, all right,
this serial killer, crazy redneck guy who kills people meant something to you? Like what? Like,
yeah, like okay, block. No,
yeah, no, I know what they mean though. Like
Yeah,
when someone's a big part of your life, like maybe that was some of the first horror they ever saw. Right?
Yep.
Like very well could have been. That could, you know, Carver could have been someone's first horror movie. You always remember the first thing that made you go, oh God. Like you always remember that, right?
Make sure you get the Grizzly edition when you're looking stuff up. I don't know if they say that on there, but I want to tell you about this scene so bad, but I don't want to spoil it for you. I want to get your real reaction on it. So.
Okay. We're cooking something up for that, by the way, folks. So stay tuned for that. But I want to shift gears a little bit here because we've mentioned a little bit too about your voice work.
Yes.
And when I got to know you, it was as an aspiring voice actor, and you just started kind of dipping your toes in the voice acting stuff, so to speak, with the whole like the Grey Rooms Discord and all that.
Let me tell you, there were a lot of HR meetings on that, dipping my toes and stuff. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to dip them in? Jam or
jam?
Do you have a preference?
Yeah, jam. Like strawberry preserves, to be specific.
Strawberry preserves. I like doing it in marmalade.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
what are you, Paddington?
Anyone who likes marmalade definitely a serial killer. So, you know, take that how you will.
That's the Cocaine Bear is actually the sequel to Paddington 2. Anyway.
Sorry. Oh God, that was funny. I still haven't seen Cocaine Bear.
I want to see it so bad. Yeah. But anyway, voice acting.
Yes. So what made you want to get into the voice acting world?
I'm going to be 100% honest with you on this. I have no clue. I don't know. I'm a big fan of No Sleep. You know, who isn't in the horror community? Come on.
I was just about to say.
But like, I've been listening for years, and my buddy, actually, I owe everything to my buddy at work. And like, you know, when it comes to the podcasting stuff, he got me, I was asking him, I was like, do you know any good horror podcasts? He was like, yeah, check out No Sleep. I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I checked him out, listened to it for a couple of years, and I was just like, okay, I can definitely get into this. And then, you know, that led me to the Grey Rooms. And then that led me to, you know, your show. And basically,
oh, God, sorry to hear that. The Grey Rooms, the harder show.
Yeah, the Grey Rooms on your show. Anyway, but yeah, no, it really just sparked something in me. And specifically, I got to call him out. And I know he'll probably never hear this, but Graham Rowett is, first of all, he's a really cool guy. You know, the couple times that I interacted with him, he was pretty cool. But yeah, he's my favorite voice actor of all time. And he's a pretty great guy.
We share that.
yeah. He inspired me. He inspired me to want to get back into acting, because I already had the acting desire, but I was like, how can I do this in a way that would be advantageous to me and I could put my best foot forward? And I thought that was voice acting, because I've always been told I'm so expressive, how my voice is just like, you know, I got the face for radio, and my voice is pretty pleasant for the most part. And I can do accents, you know, I could do all sorts of stuff. So it just made sense to me.
And also, I think that as someone who is slowly trying to get into the voice acting world myself now, like, it's definitely, you can start to get work pretty quickly. It's just, is it going to be what you want to do? And luckily, I don't think I'm out of turn to say this, being in that Grey Rooms Discord was a wonderful place to start.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
speaking on Graham, like Graham was always a fountain of knowledge for anybody who wanted to, anyone who would ask him.
Yeah,
you know what I
pretty
mean?
much.
And not just him, but everyone, I could sit here and list everybody who was involved.
Yeah, right. Aaron Lillis and Sarah.
Yeah, literally everybody who was involved with that. But what was the first thing that you did with voice acting? Like what was the first thing that you got like a role and you're like, hey, I'm going to actually sit and record this? And how was that experience for you?
I can't remember the very first thing. I think it might have been for your tape.
Really?
I think that might have been the first one.
I thought you had done something else before that. Was that really the first thing?
No, I think the only thing. No, I did an audition for Baseline, but the first real role I had was Redbox.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, geez, I didn't know that. I'm honored to be able to say that.
Yeah, that was the first publication. That was my debut.
That's awesome, dude. I didn't actually know that. That's cool. I knew it was, one of probably your first 10, but I didn't know that was your first thing.
Yeah, no, it was literally my first. I didn't really start putting myself out there until I got my setup, and I had a lot of input from somebody from the Grey Rooms Discord that we won't mention, but like he's the one who got me into this microphone that I'm speaking into now. He said it was the best one, so I didn't really put myself out there until after I had everything set up. And your Breadbox was the first time I was out there.
That's awesome. Well, and shouts to that person, because obviously as things happen in life, but let's just say that we both owe them for that, because when I was looking for someone to do Breadbox, let's talk about that for a minute, that's interesting. When I was looking for someone to do Breadbox, and folks listening at home, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, my Patreon podcast, I have Tapes of Trepidation. You guys have probably heard me talk about a whole bunch, because it's like my new obsession. I love it
as much as I love doing this.
Yes. If you give me $5 a month, I'll give you a horror narration podcast.
For only 1 cent a day.
For only 1 cent. Hi, I'm TJ Hodder, and for only 1 cent a day. But I was looking for someone to do this weird little creepypasta that I found, and I'd never heard of it. No one's ever narrated it to my knowledge. And I found this weird little creepypasta that was all based around a bread box. And I was like, this is the weirdest little thing. And I don't want to spoil it, folks. I want you to listen to it, because it is actually, if you go back to October of last year, I did a offering of Tapes Trepidation episodes 1 through 6. And episode 5 is the Breadbox episode that features Erik. And basically the character that Erik plays is, I literally pictured you when I was because I kind of had to write some weird little dialogue for it. And I was picturing, I was like, oh, I need someone like Erik for this. And it was hey, do you want to do this?
I'm someone like Erik.
Hey, you know who's like Erik? Erik.
Oh, gosh. That's so surprising.
I know,
you had me on the edge of my seat there. I paid for the whole thing, but I just needed the edge.
And it's the homeless man. Oh, I want this person to sound like Tanner's weird voice that he does. So it's hey.
No, we played well off each other on that, without even collaborating or anything. Tanner and I actually play well off each other. I don't know if you've listened to Scary Corp yet, but
I sure have, and we're going to talk about that for sure.
We'll talk about that, but it was just one of those things where you came to me and said, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, fuck yeah. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to curse?
No, you're good.
This?
You're good.
I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. And I just sat down and did it. It was just one of those things that I jumped right into. And I can't tell you the exact point where I got the passion for voice acting, but I'm really glad that I did, because I love it. I love it. And it's nothing about fame, or it's nothing about getting my name out there. It is just a lot of having fun. If I never get paid for it, I mean, it would be nice to get paid for it, but if I never get paid for it, I'll be happy. I really would. It's a hobby, But I mean, if I get some sort of modicum of recognition, cool. If I get paid for it, cool. But it's not a requirement. I'll do this forever for you and Tanner and whomever for free.
Well, that's really good to hear because I can assure you that we'll be working together for sure going forward.
Well, that's
but I
good.
can relate to that too, man. Like with Tate's Trepidation, like, yeah, it's my Patreon podcast per se, but all my Patreon funds goes to podcast stuff to keep the podcast going at this point.
Right.
Like that's, I don't, and for the record, folks, as soon as I hit my goal, let's just say anyone who does some voice acting for me may or may not get a little compensation. So let's hit that goal, folks.
Yes, please.
Yes, so I can give Eric money.
God, please.
I'm like, here's a shiny quarter just for you. Hi, Eric. This is Paul Stanley, and I just want to give you this shiny quarter. Actually, that'd be more like Gene Simmons who would. Anyway, going off on a tangent.
Yeah, I'm Gene Simmons.
And this is Gene Simmons, and I'm here today to explain to you why you are making 25 cents for an hour's worth of work. But, at the end of the day, I'm just doing that for fun, really. Yeah. It's for my patrons, but like, if I wasn't having fun doing it, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be doing literally anything else. And it's such a fun way to express yourself. And especially being, I can speak for myself, a pretty reserved person for the most part. When it comes to like, I don't like walk around like yelling at people and stuff. So getting out those,
you don't? Then why do you do it so much?
Yeah, I know, right? Why do I do it?
I mean, if you don't like it, then why do you do it?
Yeah. No. And I find for me now, if I don't get to sit down at least like maybe like once a week for the most part and like work out like a recording of like something super dark. Yeah, I find I'm just not as like in a good of a mood. Does that make sense? Like, it like purges that darkness. I think it was shouts to Mark Taus, who I had on the show a while ago.
Oh, you did? He's awesome.
And he said something along the lines of that, where it was like it helps him like purge the dark thoughts.
Yeah,
writing what he does. I mean, he's brilliant. He's incredible. I love Mark Taus.
He is amazing. He's actually one of my favorite horror authors. Him and Gemma Amore. Like they're the tops for me, especially right now. But I've actually talked with Mark a couple of times on Instagram and Twitter. And I have that. I have all.
And, I got this, and then I got Nana out in the living room, and I'm getting crows very soon. So I'm excited.
I have Nana. I have Hope Wharf. I have 3300. Yeah, and I plan on getting the rest of them. Anyway, this is the Mark Taus podcast with TJ and
This
Eric.
Is the We Appreciate Mark Taus podcast.
This is a podcast about Mark Taus and nothing else now.
I'll send this to him too. I'll be like, brother, no, we like, that's the thing is like, we're both fans of similar stuff. So like, we're gonna rip on stuff like that. But
yeah. But he's a good guy. I wish that he didn't live in Australia so he could come to the US, but whatever.
Yeah, big shout outs to Mark Taus for sure. Awesome guy. But moving on from the breadbox stuff, because it's well, actually, I just want to ask you something real quick about that. Mm-hmm. When I sent you the script for it, and you saw the last scene, like without giving it away, what was your initial thought when you read that?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting it. It was definitely a surprise, and it was a pleasant surprise actually, because too many horror stories and movies these days, the ending kills the whole thing for me, and that didn't. Like that was a nice little fudge.
And that was your literal, like, that's what I loved about it so much, man. Like, just when you sent me your take for it, I was just like, this is exactly what I pictured in my head. And that made me, I was already a fan of yours, but like that made me more of a fan of yours.
I mean, you just like me for my beard. It's okay.
I mean, yeah, for those of you listening at home, Eric has a fantastic beard. And I'm
TJ's
filled
beard
with
is not.
beard
This is the beard podcast with.
We've changed 3 times now. This is now the Beard Podcast. Well, actually, it wouldn't be. It'd be more like, this is the Beard Podcast, bro.
Blabbing about beards with Eric and TJ.
That's it. But yeah, no, I, since then you've done a couple other things as well for me for tapes. And I mean, it's always awesome. And I know we're working on something right now and I'm very, very excited about that.
I'm excited about that too. That's going to be fun.
Yes. But moving on, because you mentioned Scary Corp.
Yes.
I want to go to this.
My first real, not real, but my first really dig deep into it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, your main debut, because at the end of the day, the tapes is a Patreon thing. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that I was absolutely blown away that I was asked to do that. Especially since it was written by my friends Arthur Unk and Tori. And they just they're both fantastic writers. I always enjoy reading their stuff. But I was blown away that they asked me to do that. And I'm still like kind of reeling from it, even though it's been released, even though it's been recorded. I'm still like, man, I had a good time with that. And they asked me to do it, of all people, because they know a lot of talented people. And it was just one of those things where I was not expecting something like that, to be invited to do something like that. Like we've talked about, I'm just getting into the business, and Baseline Feed it's another podcast that both TJ and I have been on. They cater to new voices, new writers, everything like that. But still, it's just one of those things that like I got picked for that, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That story had me reeling. It was a lot of fun. Go check it out.
Yes, episode 3, season 2 of Baseline Feed, folks. Check it out. It's my favorite episode, and not just because you're in it, but the banter between you and Tanner.
Oh, that was so much fun. Like without even getting in the same room or having an idea of what each of us were doing. Man, I don't know how we synced up so well like that, but it was just one of those things that came together.
And then, CM popping in once in a while as the computer. Like, everyone on that did an incredible job, but you three, just the combination, I was like, this is great. And I mean, let's be really real for a second. Y'all are my friends, so if it sucked, I wouldn't be like, guys, this sucks. But I'd be like,
could have been better.
because I would want the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's how
absolutely. We all have that working relationship. We're like,
that's how we grow.
Yeah, if something isn't great, we'll be honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this was fucking awesome, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was great, and it's such a weird, interesting little story too.
Yeah, and funny thing is, I had to send him 2 different audio clips. I are you raising your hand really when I'm talking?
Sorry, no, I pressed the wrong button. My apologies.
I'm just messing with you. I had to have my diva moment there because,
Do you know who I am? I'm Carver, goddammit.
I had to send Tanner 2 different voice files, because one had me just doing the regular lines, and then the other one was where I went nuts and started screaming and stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna send him a different one for that, because I think you have to be in a different headspace, like we've talked about, to really get into the fear and the screaming and the frustration that was encountered during that story. Again, I won't go too much into it, because I want your listeners to go out and check it out, and especially check out Baseline Feed in general. They're really great people, and they put out a good product.
Honestly, world class as far as I'm concerned. Like when it comes to the audio drama, and I'm not just saying that because they're my buddies and I was on an episode. I'm not just saying that because of that. Because I was actually, Eric was episode 3 and I was episode 4. Uh-huh. So, paving the way for me again, obviously, is Eric.
He's riding my coattails. What can I say?
Oh, that's all I do, man. I ride people's coattails all the time. How do you think I get anywhere in life? I just show up and I'm like, hey.
The thing is, I was actually wearing coattails that day.
Haha.
I had one of those Bugs Bunny tuxedo things, where you whip out the back and then
Sits
sit down
in the booth.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, that's great. But yeah, like it's such a fun story, and like they got such a great group of people over there, and it's just, and I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn to say that you're working on more stuff with them too in the future. So I'm very excited about that.
Me too.
Has there been anything else that you've worked on in the voice world right now that you can talk about, or are you kind of just slowly picking away at it?
Yeah, I'm still just picking away at it. Basically, my main thing is working with you in Baseline. I'm trying to find other ways to get myself out there because, like I said, again, I want to do it for me. You know, that I've decided that I'm going to start doing more artistic things for me. I'm going to start. I actually do have a story that I'm working on that I'm writing, and also I have a passion project when it comes to narration that I'm actually working on. And I'm just going to go ahead and world debut, put this out there. I've always wanted to narrate The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe. For some reason, that story has always stuck out to me since I read it in like high school, which was a billion years ago. But it's one of those things that I just always wanted to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So that's coming down the pipe.
That's awesome. Exclusive worldwide here, folks. You heard it here first, folks.
Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Other than that, like I've got a couple of things that I want to do. My son and I, you know, outside of horror, my son had it really hard. I'm kind of shifting gears big time here. But no, my son had it really hard, like early in life. He was in the NICU for like a month, and my wife went through some things. She had a stroke and a seizure while having him, and he had to stay in the NICU in Johns Hopkins and here in Baltimore. And even before he was born, like in utero, I would read him Winnie the Pooh stories. And that's kind of our thing. Like as he's gotten older, we've still stuck with that. Like we stuck with the Winnie the Pooh stuff. So I would love to do a production of that at some point. Cause now it's in the, was it Common?
Yeah. Creative Commons or whatever
Yes.
it is now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to do something with that. Cause I've had a lot of practice doing the voices cause I would do them all. When I was reading to him, even when he was like, before he was born, I would still do all the voices for him. And, yeah, I would love to do something like that. But other than that, you know, I'm just kind of riding the tide, man.
Just doing things here and there. And what's cool too, like talking about non-horror related stuff. Like, yes, we're both huge fans of horror, and yes, the horror narration stuff is definitely my forte. But you know, I can speak for myself. Going back to Baseline for a minute, like the story I did for Baseline was not even remotely something I would have ever casted myself in.
Yeah.
And that was the most intimidating thing in the world. And even Scary Corp, like, yeah, it's kind of like paranormally kind of like, I don't even sci-fi.
It's horror adjacent.
Yeah, but it's like still just different enough that like
it's like Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, so, right. Yeah. So it's definitely cool to see things like that and to see people, you know, go outside of their comfort zones, so to speak, and try different things. And I mean,
it's always good to try different
It's
things.
good. Oh yeah.
You can't pigeonhole yourself like even, that. I mean, that's how you grow as an artist. Like I know that we both like Rissa Montanez, you know, and she's an awesome voice actress, but like I've heard her do different things. Like from Instagram, she does these exercises and I'm just like, wow, she's amazing. And like from SCP Archives and Creepy, like she just always puts together something that's different, even though it's all horror based, quote unquote. But she's always got this new air about her when she does something different, and that's how you grow as an artist.
Challenging yourself is super important, and I think that's not even just for creative people and artistic people, but like anyone in life.
No, absolutely.
Challenging yourself to try new things and to go outside of your comfort zone in some way is so important.
Yes.
And it's how you grow as a person. And, maybe even if it's like, having an uncomfortable conversation you need to have, like that helps you grow too. Like there's so many ways you can grow. And as creative people, it's so important to push those boundaries for sure.
Yep.
Like even like just like for myself, like I did a reading of, oh my gosh, at Christmas here. Oh no, I'm going to draw a blank on my own. I always do this. I always draw, but it was a Christmas story, and I usually do horror stuff, but I was like, you know what? I want to do something very outside of my comfort. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Yes.
And I was terrified to put that out because I was like, it's just me reading this Christmas story.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to do it at work, actually, randomly. And that was what inspired me to do it, because I did it. And a couple of the people were like, like I was reading to these kids, like I work at a school, obviously. And I'm reading to the kids, and like the person's like, yo, like, have you ever done this before? And I was like, well, I do. So I kind of explained a little bit, and she was like, well, you could easily do like non-creepy stuff too. Like, and I was like, wow, that's cool. So it's a challenge. And I would like to even put this out to you now. I would like to challenge you to do Winnie the Pooh. Just for me. I want to challenge you to do that. And I'll put it together for you, because I want to hear that now. Let's do it, because that would be cool as hell.
That's perfectly fine. I would have to layer it a little bit, but yeah.
You send me the stuff. I'm just putting you on the spot on air here. Like you said,
no, for real.
We don't have to release it or nothing, but just let's do it, because I want to hear it.
I'm on board. Okay. I'm on board. Let's do that.
This is what we do here, the Harder Show now, heading into, because this is actually, by the way, folks, the first official interview of 2023. We're starting off with a bang. We're only 2 months late. But
sorry, it can only get better from here. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all downhill from here, folks. Next week, I'm going to have Tanner on. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Tanner. No. But yeah, like, I think it's so cool to have conversations like this and to challenge each other as
absolutely
creative people. And that's awesome. I think that would be.
And that's part of the problem with like the everybody gets so wrapped up in advancing themselves that they don't want to challenge anybody else. It's like, if you don't challenge yourself, you're always going to be here, where I'm going to get, if I do stuff on my own, I'll advance higher than you. And I think that's part of the biggest problem in the artistic world today, is that people don't push each other.
Well, and that's what I think is so awesome about our little kind of group that we have rolling here, like Baseline Feed, whose entire platform is, providing a platform to bring people up and to get people into the, not only the audio drama world, but like the voice world, and to basically give them a voice to be like, hey, have you ever wanted to try this? We don't care if you have any experience. Let's do it. Let's walk you through how to do this. And, it's so important to have things like that, but also to have people out there who are willing to pass on that information if you ask. People like a Graham Rowett, who is always happy to, he's not going to give you a seminar for 3 hours, you gotta pay for that shit, if he wants to do that. But it's so awesome to have people out there like a Baseline Feed, just going back to them again, like, who do stuff like that.
Yep.
Well, talking about, you mentioned obviously Graham Rowett, and then you mentioned Risa. Are there some other voice actors that really inspire you?
Yes. Yeah. Peter Lewis, which we've had many
deep
conversations about. That guy. Anyway, Peter Lewis is one of my favorites as well. Sarah Thomas, she is absolutely amazing, and Erin Lillis, actually, she can take anything and make it dramatic, and I love it. And you know, she I listen to her a lot, like her and Dan Zapula, when they had Zapula, sorry, Dan Zapula, when they have scenes together, well, scenes, but you know, when they have stuff together, they always play off each other so well. But I'm always listening to the both of them, how they play off each other, and it kind of gives me an idea of how to like inflect and stuff. So I learn by listening and doing. That's my thing. I'm very tactile. So we've got, and then I mean, like professionally, like big time professional, the late great Robin Williams. He was, that man could do anything.
Almost underrated as a voice actor.
Yeah, absolutely,
like really,
absolutely.
like just obviously a comedic genius, obviously an incredible actor.
Yes.
But like as an actual voice actor,
yeah,
like one of the best.
You look at Fern Gully, like nobody's seen that movie. Yeah, I mean, and the people that have are just like, you know, this is weird. But Robin Williams' performance gets lost in a lot of the politicalness of the movie in general. But he was so zany, and it was such a big loss to lose him. But yeah, he like you said, underrated as a voice actor, just like Prince is underrated as a guitar player. But as far as voice acting, I mean, I've always just, I enjoy listening to everybody's iteration of stuff. And I pick and choose, and I like kind of do my own thing. You know, nobody directly. Let me take that back. So, you know, I do have some direct influences, but for the most part, I just do it like I want to do it.
You're not trying to like specifically imitate somebody when you're doing it. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
There are a couple of people that I might sound like, you know, but I don't think they're close enough to be like mistaken for that person.
Yeah.
But I adore pretty much the whole No Sleep, the whole No Sleep cast.
You're a fan of SCP Archives as well, if I'm
yes,
not mistaken,
I am.
right? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And that whole, I mean, basically everyone involved with, you know, No Sleep and SCP Archives and Creepy.
Yeah, I like Creepy a lot.
There's so many people we could throw in there.
Yeah. Yeah, John from Creepy, he's a pretty cool guy from what I understand, and like I always enjoy his narrations and such. So
yeah, I'm a huge fan of Creepy and his work on SCP Archives. Like,
yes, yeah.
I owe SCP Archives so much, dude. Like seriously, like getting into horror, it was all really stems from SCP Archives in the Grey Rooms, like, which is so weird to think about. But then now, if it wasn't for SCP Archives, I wouldn't have found Graham Rowan. If it wasn't for Graham Rowan, I wouldn't have found the Grey Rooms. If it wasn't for the Grey Rooms, I wouldn't have found the Discord that then introduced me to all these wonderful people that I now consider very good friends that were able to say, hey, you should check out this movie, or hey, you should check out this movie. And slowly it's like now I'm slowly becoming a pretty big fan of horror in all aspects, right?
I've always been a big fan of horror. Like ever since I was little, like I remember being 5 years old and watching Gremlins. I think it was 5. I think it might have been later than that, but Gremlins in the theater, you know, that's not really technically a horror movie, but you know, I was a little kid.
When
I was
you were
scared
a kid,
of the freaking, you know, monsters. But that's actually one of my key memories is watching that. And there were a couple other horror movies that I probably shouldn't have been watching at that age, that I remember watching and being like terrified by, but like, you know, later on in life, it's just like, it didn't desensitize me at all, but it made it so I can tolerate things on screen. The only thing I can't tolerate is children being hurt and pets being hurt, but
who can? Like
you'd be surprised.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, right. Yeah, fair enough. But like, if there was an animal being injured in your movie, I'm not going to watch it. Like, I'm good.
There's no animals were harmed in the filming of Carver. So
no animals were harmed in the recording of this podcast.
Get back here.
You might hear a cat randomly in the background.
Yeah, so it's just I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about horror movies, and I was gonna bring this up here. Do you have like, say, like a top 5 favorite horror movies that just really did it for you?
Top 5 favorite. I mean, The Exorcist is the most terrifying movie I've ever seen. I got to see that in the theater a long time ago, and it was so much fun, but it was so terrifying. Linda Blair, in that she just does such a good job. And then the original Evil Dead and the remake of the Evil Dead, both of those just like give me the tinglies. I love me some Bruce Campbell. And on the remake, the new quote unquote Ash, she was fantastic as well. I can't wait for the new, was it Rise of the Evil Dead or something like that? Whatever the new one's going to be. I'm so excited for that. I watch a lot of horror, and there are just some that kind of stand out to me, and there are others that don't. Like the first Purge was pretty good. I mean, I don't know if that's top 5, but that's one that stands out to me. Like I can't sit here and list my top 5 horror movies, but I can give you a list of stuff that I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
Was there any that you like turned off because it freaked you out too much?
No.
Okay.
There are a couple I turned off because I'm bored by them, but yeah, I don't do that very often. But like Annabelle was one of them. I just like I couldn't get through that.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
I couldn't get through that. But I love The Conjuring, like the core Conjuring movies. Best, like the best in years. They were so good. But Annabelle, like the spin-offs, like Annabelle and the Nun and all that.
Really? See, I really liked The Nun. I thought The Nun was great, but that's what's so great about creative stuff is
exactly.
Everyone's allowed to have a different opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. There have been a few things that like people say, like, for, even outside of horror that people really like. And I'm just like, nah, like Seinfeld. Everybody really likes that show for some reason.
I've never been a fan either.
And it's just like, why? No, but I respect everybody's opinion, unless you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan. I see why everybody finds joy in stuff. I never put them down for that. Because you always need something.
Mm-hmm. Everyone needs something. And if you create art, even if it's not for everybody, even if there's only a couple of people who really enjoy it, it's like, dude, if one person gets some great enjoyment out of your art, you're a winner as far as I'm concerned. Right? Like that's so important. Even if it's just for you. Yeah. And it gives you joy. It's so important to do that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in especially in the, content creator world, like, oh, well, I'm not famous. It's like, well, listen, does this bring you joy? Does it make you happy? Yeah. Then who cares about everything else? Right. Like just do it because it's fun.
Exactly.
That's how it should be.
That was the whole, theme of what we were talking about earlier. Like just do it for you. I never had a really artistic outlet until recently. And I'm so glad that I did this. I'm so glad that I started on this because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I'm just getting myself out there, putting myself out there. And in fact, another exclusive for you is that at some point this year, I'm hoping to go audition for an onstage role, like a play or something. So we'll see how that goes. But
dude, that's awesome, right?
I just really want to get myself out there and on stage. I've never done a stage play, so I just think that would be really cool to do.
And I mean, you've got the look for it, you've got the chops for it. Like it's not like you don't know how to act. Yeah. Right. Like that's something, some people like you see, like they don't really know, like even like in the voice world, right? Like you can listen to something and know, okay, like this person knows how to act. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like there's some people
they
who
can just
like
read.
Even in the narration world, like I'll listen to some people and like, I don't like to put anyone's art down, but like if you're reading something off and you're just like reading it with no emotion and you're kind of just like, it's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, let's act a little. Let's try and get into a character. Like that's how I think a great narrator or a great voice actor should look at it, is like, hey, you're acting with your body as you're talking too, right? Because it's acting. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I get, like, when I'm doing voiceover stuff, I still go through some of the motions.
Mm-hmm.
Like it adds that extra little oomph to it, you know? And a funny story about the acting and what really got the idea into my head in the first place was when I was about 18 or 19. I worked at this restaurant, right? And I would do things like act like I was mad at people or just like give them shit about something. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just kidding. And they were like, you should be an actor. Like, a lot of people have told me that. So I was just like, you know what? Put up or shut up, you know? So I went and I did it, and it's worked out for me so far.
And I think really that the sky's the limit for you, man, honestly. Like, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I think that, you know, you genuinely have the talent where you did something for me that I was already a fan of yours, but when you sent me your track for tape number 10, which was a version of the Rake that we did over on Tape Depredation, and it had featured a bunch of people, and it was a very last minute thing too.
Yep.
Where I realized, oh my God, I need someone for this role. And it was a very odd role because I'm not going to give everything away, but like people who know the Rake creepypasta, it's a note. It's a suicide note. And that's a thing where it's like you put yourself in that headspace. It's like, that's pretty heavy. And I was like, man, like, I don't know who to ask to do this, because that's something that it needs to be a very certain way. It needs to be read a certain way. I need someone who can really, truly act. And a lot of the people that I had already asked to do voices, I was like, well, I can't ask them to do it because they are already on it. So then I was like, man, like, I need someone who can really act and who can grasp this. And the take that you sent me was just like, dude, like, I like legit, like, got kind of emotional listening to it.
Really?
Because I was just like, holy it was perfect.
That means a lot to me, man.
I was
that
like,
really
holy
does.
Shit. So, I mean, that made me a fan of yours. And then I heard Scary Corpse, and I was like, okay, there's the other side of Erik, where it's like, okay.
Right. Yeah. No, I see. The thing is that I'm very versatile, or at least I try to be. And so far, nobody's had any complaints about what I've been doing. So,
well, it's coming. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah. Just you wait. No, but and I'm always expecting to get feedback and notes and stuff like that. But the fact that I don't, and I'm not saying this to be egotistical or anything, but the fact that I don't really kind of makes me so much more confident, and it makes me want to do so much more. Hold on, take two. So many more things, because I can't speak. Yeah.
I liked the clap, by the way. That was a good touch. I'm just going to leave that in because I thought that was really cute. You were like,
nice. Yep. Take two. But anyway, yeah. The fact
it makes you confident because you know,
exactly.
Like, it feels. Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. Yeah.
So it just makes me feel really good, and the fact that they keep coming back for more. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, man. Like, to be blunt, if you sucked, I would be like, yeah, man, yeah. Oh, I got something for you. Yeah, I'll be in touch. Like, when I'm full of shit, because I'll just be like, I got something for you, my guy. I got something for you. Then I just won't send you anything.
Wait, you said that to me before.
I did. Then I sent you shit. Oh.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got something for you. Oh, here's the stuff for you. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, he's not full of shit. Yeah, no, I'm not a very good liar. So like, I'm always like, but I just be like, man, I'm just really busy. Yeah, we'll get that part to you soon. But yeah, man, like I think the sky's the limit. And I mean, I think we're going to have another conversation even a few months from now. And you're gonna be in a whole different situation, and I'm so excited for you.
I appreciate that.
If people want to keep track of what you're doing, what's the best way that they can find you?
I'm trying to be more active on Facebook, on my fan page on there. I've been sharing some stuff for you for Paceline, and it's just one of those things that kind of doesn't really come to me because I've never had reason to do it. That page has been up since Carver got released, and my brother actually started that for me. That's where the actor extraordinaire came from, because he put it up as a joke, and it actually kind of took off. I've got like 100 fans on there, and not all just friends and family. But that would be the best way to get me. I am going to set up a web page with things that that I'm doing. Between the voice acting, and I'll update everybody on the stage stuff, and but I still have to find the right hosting for that, because I need to be able to put files and stuff on that. But
if there's anyone who would like to potentially bring you in on a project, is there like an email they can contact you at, or?
Yeah. My main email is my AOL email, because that's how I'm old, because I still use AOL. It's dragonflame37 at AOL. That's my main email, and then I have a Gmail also, which is ericrobe37 at Gmail. So either of those works, and they're always open. So,
oh man, that's it. Well, and I mean, it's been a blast getting to talk with you. I'll have some links down below too, by the way, folks. If you listen to this and you're like, yeah, I think I got something for this guy, hit him up. I can't say enough great things about you, Erik, and I'm happy to call you a friend, and I'm honored that you lend me your voice for Tape Trepidation, and I can't look forward to continue working with you in the future, man. Absolutely.
Anytime. And apparently I have to add this at the end here. My best friend, my BFF, Kelly, as we know as Jinxie, she wanted me to give her a shout out on this. So, yeah, I wish it was more organic than that, but yeah, she apparently I have a thing
Shout
for
outs to Kelly. We love Kelly here on the Hotter Show. She knows what's up.
Apparently I have a thing for Canadians.
I guess
yes. It's the part Canadian in me. I'm legit. My grandmother was from Toronto, so it must just be that magnetism.
So you got like a little Canuck.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I could see that. You got a little Canuck in you, I think.
Yeah.
Shout outs to everybody over on the Baseline Feed Discord and the Hotter Show Discord. CM and
Absolutely.
Tanner and Jinxie and Mo and Dews and Jackalbot Snows and everybody.
Y'all fucking rock.
I can sit here for
do
hours.
This without y'all. Like, really. I know we were trying to kind of close up, but let me get real here for a second. Like, the best thing I've ever done was join Discord for the Grey Rooms, which is, not around anymore, RIP. But I'm glad that we've all stuck together. I'm glad that we were all able to find a common ground to come back under. And I couldn't do this without you guys. Like, I appreciate you so much. This is the best time in my life right now, that I get to be around friends all the time. I get to do this voice acting stuff, and it's just been a ton of fun. And I look forward to a lot more.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. And all the same to you as well. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody. And the sky's the limit for you, man. And I can't wait to continue to see what you do. And just I'll do my best to make sure I don't make you mad, so you come over and carve me up. Thanks a lot, Erik. Appreciate you, buddy.
Right. Thanks, dude.
All right, folks. There you have it. My chat with Erik Fones, voice actor and actor. Hope you guys enjoy that chat as much as I enjoyed recording it. Erik, thank you very much for being a part of my first real interview since November. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you working with me on that, as I had to shake the cobwebs off a little bit and was still dealing with my voice recovering a little bit. So thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. Just like I appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you so much. It means the entire world to me. If you enjoyed this episode and you enjoy the podcast, be sure to leave a rating. You can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on most podcast apps, including YouTube. You can leave an upvote, a like. That helps a lot. and comment. Commenting helps spread the word. Share this podcast with your friends if you are so inclined to do so. And if you would like to support the show on social media, we do have Facebook and Instagram under The Hodder Show. We also have a Discord, which we have a ton of fun on, and I've been getting back into being a lot more active on the Discord, which is always so fun. I love interacting with everybody on there. So if you'd like to join the Discord, hit me up and I will send you a little link ski. And if you would like to support the show, maybe a little more, and get access to the Tapes Trepidation Horror Narration podcast, as well as other fun rewards, consider joining the Hodder Show Patreon, patreon.com/The Hodder Show. We have 3 tiers you can join, $1, $5, and $10. $5 and above will get you access to the Tapes Trepidation Horror Narration podcast. And once I hit my goal, I'll be announcing something really cool for the $10 and above. I'm not too far away from my goal. I'm looking for $100 USD. And once I hit $100 USD, I'm going to be launching my merch store, which is going to be very exciting. And also, I got something planned for my patrons who are $10 and above for at least 2 months. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to have something fun. But on top of all that, if you join at any level, including the $1 level, which I still seriously, obviously appreciate very much, you get a little shout out at the end of every single episode of the show, just like I'm going to do right now to all my Patreon family. We have, of course, my man Scott Duquette, pretty much the OG patron from October 28th, 2019. Thank you very much for all the support, brother. You know how much I love you. We got Ronan Komori, who has been a patron since April 15th of 2022. We have Wolf Delta Pi, who has been a patron since May 20th of 2022. Both of them are involved with the Baseline Feed podcast. You guys know how much I love Baseline Feed. Oh, looky here. We got my man Erik Fones, who has been a patron since May 23rd of 2022. Eric, I mean, come on, man. You know how much I love you. We've got Mr. Arthur Unk, who has been a patron since May 23rd. Arthur, I appreciate the hell out of you, brother. Thank you very much. We have Mike Quintero of Shudder Radio. Just a quick shout out to Mike here, folks. If you are into any kind of creepy stuff, go check out Shudder Radio. It is a fantastic horror narration podcast, formerly known as Mike's Mystery Mansion. He does a killer job on there, and he's always getting better. So go check out Shudder Radio. It is fantastic. And Mike's been a patron since June 24th of 2022. We have CM Peters, a fantastic author, and as well as from Baseline Feed. And she has been a patron since October 21st, 2022. We have my man, Mr. Jason Reese from J. Bridges Arts, who has been a patron since October 26th, 2022. Jason, I mean, come on, man. You know I love you. Appreciate the hell out of you, man. We have Terry and Janet Hodder, who have been patrons since October 27th, 2022, and in an indirect way have basically been patrons since September 7th, 1991, when I was born. Because, let's be honest, they are pretty much solely responsible for all of this in an indirect way. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I love you. We have Mr. Brandon Bowden of Bowden Voice, who's been a patron since October 27th, 2022 as well. Thank you, Brandon. I love you. And last but not least, we have my buddy Neil Skarupa, who has been a patron since October 27th, 2022. And for my Tapes Trepidation listeners, you may or may not hear Neil on an upcoming episode. I'm super excited about that. So if you want shout outs like that at the end of every single episode of The Hodder Show, consider joining The Hodder Show Patreon. Any level tier will get you access to exclusive content, as well as an exclusive channel on Discord, and a little shout out like that at the end of every single episode of The Hodder Show. But with that, we're going to sign off here today. Thank you guys so very much if you're still listening. It means the world to me. I appreciate you. And I'll catch you next time right here on The Hodder Show. Take it easy, guys.